My name is Elisa. If you've never met me, this is the perfect time to be here. This is Sunday Morning Juice in a way that it's never been before. First of all, let me start by saying I actually don't even know where to start. Also, I hope you're wearing your sunscreen and it's free. I'm going to link this below. TV and film right now is really doing something to me. It's really changing me. It's really forcing me to look at life a little bit differently. Maybe because I am a person, I do work in fitness, so I do get interaction with people that way, but my real bread and butter, I don't experience as much interaction as most. I am a team of one, and when I work with the clients, we become a team of two. And it's, still pretty isolating and lonely because everybody has their own roles. I feel like the connection that I have these days to TV and film, it may hit a little bit different than most. It does get a little bit parasocial over here. We're going to talk about Love Island because that one made me parasocial in a way that made me feel pretty uncomfortable. I'm rambling and I love to do that. And I'll do that sometimes, but I'm going to stay on track for right now today. Roll the intro. Love Island has consumed me and moved me in ways I don't really want to reckon with. The level of representation for Black women who are Gen Z like me, that's something that I haven't experienced, as I said. I don't think ever in reality TV. And that's probably why this is the first Love Island I saw entirely almost in real time. I got angry with the girls. I was skeptical. I was locked in. And I have emoted with and for them. Similarly, I saw a horror movie called Obsession, which I typically do not watch horror movies unless it is October and I only watch one. I only watch one horror movie a year. I saw Obsession twice. The first time I saw it, immediately my feelings started to bubble up because I could understand the level of discourse that would be had about women after watching this film. And that really did make me feel away. I will say I didn't actually see any of that discourse. I think, the algorithm lords decided to protect me, and I am so grateful for that. And I think that that's also why this episode is going to be coming from a much more emotionally balanced place. I am 28 years old. I have a year and some change left in my 20s. Yet these two projects were essentially a time machine, jolting me back to ages 20 to 25. And it really hit me, and it tugged on some heartstrings that I thought I've healed and evolved past. And I didn't realize how deeply these things were still hitting on me. Okay. I just didn't realize that I would have to sit back and say, what the fuck? Like this. I went into it ready to be excited, ready to see love, ready to see fuckery, ready to see some obsession and a little horror. I didn't mean to be moved like this. And I want to get into something a little bit personal right now. A couple of years ago, maybe about 2 years ago, I was talking about my dating life much more heavily on Substack. I was writing a lot of personal essays. I was doing some podcast episodes. I was talking about it a little bit on YouTube, definitely talking about it on TikTok. I was doing that because it was helping me navigate the landscape of dating. I was doing this a lot when I moved to New York City, and my friends were off living in other places. They were in long-term relationships, and frankly, they were just putting up with fuckery that I wouldn't put up with, and I just didn't think that I could go to them because I didn't think they were a reliable source. That sounds fucked up, and I get that, but it's the honest truth. I can be friends with somebody But like being friends with somebody or having any relationship with somebody is having enough wherewithal to know, can I go to this person for actual trusted good advice? Or is this somebody that I can key with only? I'm very aware of who's in my life, how they show up, and if they align with where I'm going. I love the people in my life and I want them to do whatever they need to do, but it's also like I've seen your patterns from a perspective that you haven't because I'm the observer and I don't want that. Or I really want that. I really want to come to you. And at that time, I didn't have anybody that I was willing to go to that I thought would give me solid, sound advice. I said all of that to say I want to talk about dating a little bit in this episode. I'm going to do it from a different place. I do think, when I was talking about it, there was a lot more emotions. I obviously wasn't dropping anybody's names or anything like that. But there was a point where like the guys that I was dating were not really that comfortable with me talking about this online. I mean, they weren't telling me to stop. They were just like, I'm not going to date you anymore. And I was just like, okay, bye. But it was like so repeated that I was just like, am I not supposed to be talking about this? And I do think there there are times to talk about that and there are times to not talk about that. And I think now that I'm older and I've seen things a little more differently and I know how to tell a story fully and not just tell a story when I'm angry or when I'm hurt, which I think that I was good at doing that then, but obviously I'm just the oldest I've ever been, so I'm better at it now. Anyway, I think we've seen a decline in dating and sex and an uptick in avoidant behavior and disconnection in partnerships, romantic and platonic alike, in the way that we never actually have, one, because of exposure, but two, because of that exposure, everybody wants connection that includes them having a lot of control. And I do think that this dynamic has always existed, but now we all know, we all see, we all have these conversations. We all have that one therapist that breaks down Love Island. And, like, we think that we can spot narcissistic personality disorder, bipolar disorder, just because we saw that TikTok of the therapist who has decades of schooling and has done this and also is not diagnosing that person and has given us full warning. Yet we still might do that. And maybe y'all don't, but sometimes I be doing that. I be spotting stuff. And like, no, I'm not a therapist, but I am intuitive. Anyway, now that we're all aware of this and all of these things are happening and the human race is about to go extinct. No, I'm kidding. Kind of. Canada's literally on fire. I want to actually jump into it now that I've been saying that for 12 minutes. And I want to start with Love Island because I had a lot to say in the press about this one. And when the show ended, I didn't say anything. And there's a reason for that. It's because I'm going to say it right here. As a spectator of Love Island, I also wanted control over the Islanders' decision making, whether I thought that I did or I didn't. There was definitely something underlying where I didn't want Melanie to end up with Sincere. Still don't. I didn't want Kate to end up with Zach, and I wanted Kate to watch the show and see what Zach was saying behind her back and da-da-da. Like, as a spectator and a viewer, there were so many things that I wanted. Also, these girls are like 22 years old, and I remember me at that age, and I'm not gonna lie, like, the time machine took me right back to those shoes, and I saw similarities. I did, but honestly, I also have a horrible memory. But after the show ended, I like really didn't keep up with them on social media anymore. Like, I didn't really follow anybody except for Trinity, maybe Anaya. Like, I looked at Melanie's page a couple times because I liked her page, and like, honestly, shout out Scorpio Queen. Stay quiet about it. To be honest, that isn't even, I mean, see, here I am trying to control again. This is not what this episode is about. This season, we basically saw the entirety of the core four get dragged up and down the villa by their kitchens. Zach tried to make Kata feel insecure on multiple occasions. And then when she clocked it, he tried to make her feel crazy for clocking it or making her feel like she was overreacting. Melanie tried to show her power so many times after Casa. Sincere, I choose you. And then as soon as he walks up cheesing, she's yelling at him, obviously, because she didn't see all the things he was doing, but she can feel it. Sincere swiftly took that power back, even after movie night, even after she screamed and she did all the things. Honestly, like, I hate to see a woman scream because it's just like all this energy being wasted. You're going right back to that man. You're going right back to that man. And what did she do? She went right back to that man. Her sister cried to her. Her mother gave her amazing advice. Millie rocked right back over to that man. Thought she had the power because she can yell louder than Sincere. Well, next thing I know, next episode, Sincere keeps telling her, oh, we have to move on now. Oh, remember, like, you can't bring up what I did 3 days ago because we have to move on now, even though no one else new has entered the villa and I haven't been tested at all. And you probably can't trust me at all. But for 3 days, I've been thinking about how I want to be better. So I'm better now. So anytime you try to bring it up, just know it's not valid anymore. And Casey, I will say amongst these three, Casey is the least evil. My qualms are very present with Casey, but they are not as deep because I just genuinely don't think Casey is an evil demonic villain like I do about the other two. But Casey walks into the villa. He's acting, obviously we don't know he's acting out of character. He just looked performative from the very start with that pink ass suit on, talking about plants. Casey was paired with Anaya, whether he would have chosen her or not, and he acted the way that he thought he was supposed to act. And that made him build up resentment against her, talk shit behind her back, allow TT to inherit his issues because he was not actually man enough to deal with them. And I will say, I think that the apology to Anaya was genuine. I think that when he saw the consequences of his actions, he definitely felt away. But I also think like him choosing a partner like TT, who's doesn't seem like she's ever really going to hold his feet to the fire, is probably going to make him become a demonic evil villain. But based on what we saw on the show, that was not the case. And what I just said right now is complete speculation. And Trinity, I'm just kidding. Trinity, no notes, my girl. You did awesome. Obviously, production deserves some of the blame. They do play a role in this. I do think that they tried to control things and like they can't control people, and I also think they are to blame for casting a bunch of people who are 22, 23-year-old, maybe 25, and then a couple 29-year-olds like Gaul and Bryce. But I also, as said, to me, Zach and Sincere are evil demonic villains, and I really do hope that they watch this and they understand that this is a wake-up call about their behavior. I don't think that they went on this show and was just like, I'm going to act this way. I think they actually probably do act that way. I think the way that they showed up in the beginning of the season, being all nice and smiley and jolly and silly, and like, sure, those are aspects of them. And I do think with Love Island, we are seeing people's flaws at a scale we typically don't, even people in our lives. But I do think the Islanders wanted to control that level of perception. And I mean, everybody does. That's what first impressions are all about. But when the veil slipped, it just made the men, especially, mostly, look like awful people. Like, I will say, the women, the veil slipped and I was just like, ooh, you're a bad friend. Ooh, you are week. I do think now that they're getting out of the villa and they're still under the microscope, but they do have a little bit more control about what's going on and it's a little bit less invasive. We still see them trying to take control and possess this new arena of life in a new way. I actually think control plays a bigger role in our lives than we know it to. I think within them being in the show and trying to find these connections and make sure they were locked in and make sure, you know, everybody knew that Kata and Zach were exclusive because like they're so close to like it's connection and perception and control. There's like a link between the three that's like a three-sided sword. There's such a delicate balance. And I think that I'm learning at this age with balance, it's not always about staying here with it. You do have to tip to the other side to learn a little bit more. Whenever we're trying to have connections with people, that's where it comes out the most because that's where we're trying to control the outcome the most, which is having somebody who's locked in for life or for a really, really long time. And that's essentially exactly what the movie Obsession was about. And I think that's exactly why it pulled on my heartstrings in the way that it did. Obsession, it showed control from an all new point of view, a very horrific and manipulative point of view. And for those who don't know, Obsession is a movie by Curry Barker about a man who breaks a white wish willow to win his crush's heart. And he gets exactly what he wants. However, he discovers the dark side of getting exactly what he wants. And that is like the thing with the scales that I was just mentioning. In this film, Nikki, the crush, asks Bear, the main character, multiple times if he likes her. He likes her the whole time. She can feel that he likes her. He's giving so many signs that he likes her. Yet he lies and he lies and he lies until he feels absolutely safe to say yes, which is only after she says yes. Bear is the type of person who does not want to take up space, and he's totally fine with like shifting and molding and hunching over just to make other people feel comfortable and safe in a shared space. So when he had one opportunity to take control of his desires at hand with his crush, it was for his crush to love him more than anyone in the world. It was not for a mutual connection with his crush. It was not for a beautiful relationship with his crush, or that he could openly express himself with his crush and that she could do the same. It was so that she could mold to his desires. When you're put in a position where you do have the control, you really, really get to see what type of person you are. Obviously, who breaks a little trinket and thinks like they're gonna get their wish. But even from like that thought alone, wanting to control what she feels and her desires, because he was so out of control of his own life. And I think that's what relationships really do show us. This is a weird example, but sometimes when I'm walking with my dog and she starts like being crazy and like running around and sniffing everything and turning around and like everything's and stopping and going and stopping and going, it's usually because like maybe I'm scrolling and I'm getting worked up and I don't even realize, and it's like genuinely being reflected through my dog, who's not looking at the phone, who's not connected to anything that I have going on here, yet it's still a complete representation of my life. And relationships are that. Relationships are mirrors, and they're complete representations of like what we already have going on in our lives, and trying to control maybe how your partner dresses, trying to control how your partner feels, trying to control how confident or secure your partner is. That is like that double-edged sword. That is like essentially the same thing that happens in the movie Obsession. Within him making this wish and assuming that he's going to have all the control, he really just experiences how out of out of depth he truly is. And this ties into perception, because while he tried to control how she loved him or if she would love him at all, he allowed everybody to believe that she was going crazy, that she was losing her mind. It's so disturbing because this happens every single day. This happens with Zach. He wants Kata to feel insecure. He wants Kata to love him. He wants other people to explore Kata, but then he gets mad when they actually do. Like, Zach is bare. Oh my God. Oh my God. I genuinely think that most people don't have any ill will. I just think that they are so directionless on an emotional level. And that's why they seek to control these connections and seek how they're perceived within the connection or by their connection. This isn't a tell-all. I just want to open you guys' mind to this. And I actually want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your stories. I'm going to leave the comments open because this is something that I've just been really fascinated by. And like the immediate connection that I had to both of those projects, I just had to tell somebody. And you are that somebody. You guys, every Sunday we're coming back just like this. Just like this. Film and TV is not dead. It is so alive and well. I am so excited. We have coming up on the menu The Invite. Oh my God. And I'm going to see that movie again this week. I think I'm going to go tomorrow. It was phenomenal. I have so much to say and I want to talk about it with you all. Thank you guys for watching. This has been so fun. This has been so funky. Thank you so much for coming on this journey. Happy almost 3 years of Sunday Morning Juice. I am so ready for this next level. I am so ready for this next step. And I am so ready to hear what you have to say. Until next time, baby. Goodbye.